I mean, I don't think she'd be the absolute block on reconciliation. She would say to Charles, it's not going to work out well, Charles. Do what you want. But in my view, give it a pass.
Meghan Markle felt humiliated on Prince Harry's most recent UK trip, and that the trip turned into a nightmare, forcing Markle and her children to return home to California earlier than they had hoped.
Now that she is getting her comeuppance, is going to feel some of the pain she has inflicted upon others.
Camilla was fully aware of this. She would support the king. Remember, 47 minutes is not a reconciliation. It's not a get together, we're so thrilled to see you. It was very much, whether you like the king or not, I thought it was a really clever move.
So King Charles still can be manipulated by Harry, and certainly the promise of spending time with his grandchildren, of whom he doesn't have that many. He only has 2 sons.
Royal biographer Tom Bower claims to have uncovered the truth behind Meghan Markle's controversial 47-minute encounter at Highgrove, and in his view, it clarifies why the visit concluded in such an unexpected manner. What was intended as a moment to repair family bonds rapidly turned into a strictly managed appointment that generated far more ambiguity than resolution.
Of course, it's been hugely damaging, and the popularity of the royal family has fallen because of Meghan and Harry's antics. So I think the king right now, his best bet would be to distance himself completely, make it clear to Harry that the Sussexes are not welcome at all in Britain for a very, very long time. And Harry just will have to reflect how he's going to reorganise the next few tens of years of his life.
Even more surprising, Bower is currently issuing a stern warning to King Charles regarding the potential future fallout of this encounter. By the conclusion of this video, it will become obvious why he feels those 47 minutes may have altered the course of events permanently.
But I do think that when you're mocked so publicly as they've been, their value begins to nosedive pretty quickly. And I don't think they're finding any more sources of income. And with the stream of money they're spending on security, on mortgages, on just plain living, I think they can see the end of the road within 5 years at best. And they've got a real financial problem now.
Tom Bower is much more than a typical chronicler of the monarchy. Over the years, he has established himself as one of the most closely observed analysts regarding Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and their complex dynamics with the royal family. His investigations and commentary frequently generate widespread debate because they focus heavily on the choices, friction, and public controversies surrounding the Sussexes.
Meghan and Harry's crisis, completely of their own making, is they have no major projects, no major money earners. And so they're more desperate than ever. And I think that they don't know what to do other than to try and come back to Britain and rebuild themselves as some sort of members of the royal family.
This time around, his fresh assertions about that brief Highgrove meeting are raising significant doubts. According to Bower's perspective, Harry and Meghan traveled to the United Kingdom with a singular primary objective: to reverse the damage caused by Megxit and reconstruct their ties with the royal institution. Following their decision to step back from official duties, the couple's circumstances were widely acknowledged to have shifted. Their commercial ventures faced increasing scrutiny.
Meghan needed something. The week had gone so wrong for Harry, most notably the court case, because she would have been at the Invictus Games, I'm pretty sure, launch on Friday, if it had gone well. It was all the better for her not being there because he looked like the Harry of old. But then to see them go into and meet, I think that's a good thing in a way, because from a family point of view, it's a grandfather wanting to see his grandchildren.
Meghan's brand initiative ran into hurdles, and several of Harry's philanthropic projects encountered growing strain. Bower contends that these setbacks made repairing their public standing a critical priority. He asserts that re-establishing connections with the monarchy offered the most reliable route to regaining the influence, trust, and media coverage they previously commanded.
Let us be absolutely clear about this. This is a major crisis for the king. This is a major crisis for Britain, because Britain's reputation is being hammered dreadfully by what's coming out in Washington, and I think there's worse to come, and I don't know how the king's going to cope with it.
They still required a legitimate pretext to initiate contact with the royal family. And Bauer argues that the Invictus Games provided precisely that cover. As the creator of the event, Prince Harry possessed an unquestionable reason to be present in Britain, making the trip look centered on his commitment to veterans rather than a deliberate attempt to reintegrate into royal life. In Bauer's estimation, this made the timing particularly tactical, leading directly to an unexpected turn of events.
I think that's what the Invictus Games, which is this very splendid competition for wounded servicemen, is going to start in Birmingham next year, but there's a rehearsal later in the summer. And Harry is determined to come, and if he could, he'd bring Meghan and somehow work his way back in so that they have status. My feeling is that the king might be slightly sympathetic.
King Charles, navigating his dual role as both sovereign and parent, reportedly agreed to host Harry during the trip. Initial accounts indicated Harry was offered lodgings at Buckingham Palace. However, those same reports state he did not accept the offer immediately. By the time he eventually attempted to confirm, the arrangements had been altered, rendering the accommodation unavailable. That sudden development intensified the spotlight on the visit and brought further scrutiny to how meticulously every detail was being governed.
Do you ever see a situation, Tom, in your experience, where he will come back to the United Kingdom?
Oh, I think he desperately does want to come back. I think that's what the whole Invictus Games in Birmingham was all about and is all about. But I think now he's got a huge problem that they're increasingly unpopular. The king can't face him in the way he wants in public, and Birmingham is the worst place to bring the Invictus Games. Harry's plans, plus the protection, which I don't believe he's going to get the way he wants, is going to make it very, very difficult for him.
As events progressed, Bauer argues that King Charles detected a broader pattern emerging. In his assessment, the king realized this was not merely an informal father-son catching up. He believes the monarch identified a clear effort by Harry and Meghan to leverage a royal connection following their resignation from official duties. According to Bauer, regaining that association would automatically restore the prestige, clout, and marketability that come with being closely linked to the crown. That is why he concludes with a direct warning to the king, prompting many observers to take his counsel seriously.
The point is that Meghan knows what she'd like to do, but can't deliver. I mean, she cannot be a Martha Stewart. She can't be a Gwyneth Paltrow. She can't recruit people who do it. I mean, the great problem in this whole merchandising and branding is that she has neither the money, the talent, the inspiration, the people to put it together for her. Then she sort of come up with a ridiculous story that Netflix were going to produce it for her and sell it, which Netflix quickly deny. I mean, her problem is she has terrific ambition, but she cannot actually do what she'd like to do because she just isn't competent enough. Simple as that. And to produce these brands, you needed money, you needed marketing expertise, production expertise, millions of dollars. She doesn't have it, and she doesn't know where to get it.
Harry may have undercalculated how attentively the situation was being monitored. After all, his father is not just family, he is the ruling monarch. In Bauer's view, Charles was completely cognizant that several of Harry and Meghan's independent post-royal endeavors were struggling. Multiple Hollywood production deals were under strain, Meghan's consumer brand faced launch delays, and some of Harry's charitable alliances had grown delicate. Bauer believes these facts provided the king with essential context to interpret why this sudden push for reconciliation was occurring at this specific moment.
Yeah, it's a real cruel because he is a king, but he's still a human being and he is a man. And all my reporting on him throughout the years, and this is confirmed by other reporters too, he's a softie. He's quite a sweet guy. In fact, I think his softness can sometimes be used against him. He's a terribly decent man. Is he a strong man? Is he a man that you want in charge? Maybe not, but he's a very decent person. And for these two to be doing this to a man with cancer, he's doing better, thankfully. And nobody knows him better than his son. Harry knows all his weaknesses. He knows all the buttons to press. He would love to have a relationship.
By the time these concerns crystallized, the Highgrove gathering had already been confirmed. According to Bauer, calling it off at the last minute risked generating even heavier media speculation and damaging headlines. Rather than canceling, King Charles adopted a calculated strategy. The meeting would take place, but under rigorous controls and non-negotiable boundaries. As Bauer describes it, these strict parameters dictated the outcome of the entire 47-minute interaction.
All that was all fueled from Montecito. Well, that has all now gone sour. That's all now gone really bad for the Sussexes. So they have
What was the objective in them doing that?
Well, to get to resurrection, be the royal family, somehow find a way in which they could monetize themselves through being accepted again in Britain. But of course, they're not apologizing. They have no contrition for the terrible things they've done over the last 5 years. So I never understood exactly how they thought it would play out.
Bauer asserts that King Charles had no intention of approaching this encounter with his past leniency. Any previous flexibility had completely vanished, replaced by extreme caution. The meeting was kept strictly behind closed doors, tightly regulated, and remarkably brief. In Bauer's view, these were not random decisions. They were deliberate safeguards designed to ensure the visit could not be misrepresented or exploited beyond what the king permitted. Bauer suggests that Meghan may have anticipated a far warmer reception after years away from the United Kingdom. However, he maintains that the actual atmosphere was starkly different. Instead of an emotional, open-armed family reunion, the meeting felt formal, guarded, and cold. Far from marking a fresh start, Bauer argues the encounter proved just how severely the relationship had degraded and how cautiously every word was being weighed.
Well, they do have access, they do have flats, apartments in St. James's Palace, which I think should be taken away from them. I mean, initially, my feeling was that the sins of the parents should be visited on their children, but I've changed my opinion on that now because I hadn't realized at the time how they really had exploited their titles for financial benefit. I knew they were lazy and they'd had 10, 15 holidays a year at other people's expense. But I think now the royal family has to draw a line, and I think that's very much what William and Kate want. The question is only when and where. I think they've clearly been told to try and keep a low profile, otherwise they will be in trouble. I think they all have. But I think that's something which the king, he needs to get through so much.
According to Bauer, the meeting delivered an unambiguous message. In his estimation, even if Harry and Meghan wished to reconstruct their royal standing, there was no automatic path returning them to official duties. He claims the monarchy was setting hard boundaries, signaling that any future relationship would exist purely on new terms. In Bauer's view, the era when a royal affiliation could effortlessly bolster their personal brand or commercial ventures is officially over. Bauer argues that the encounter fulfilled two critical objectives. First, it made one fact crystal clear: Harry and Meghan will not be returning as working royals. Second, he contends it was orchestrated to shield King Charles from potential future fallout.
When Chandauka denounces Harry as a racist and a bully, and that was, obviously for Harry, absolute disaster. He left the charity soon after, and the charity still survives, but obviously his reputation was severely dented.
So I think gradually the king has become much, more respected than he might have been. And he is in fact highly respected now, as is the Queen. And they had to fight hard to get to that. So I think the sympathy at the moment is all in their favor. And they're not going to let all their hard work. And you've got to remember, and they're not going to cause an argument with William and Kate, who have absolutely no intention of in any way allowing the rehabilitation of the Sussexes here. So I think it's the royal family versus the Sussexes. And today, the royal family won.
Given the existing disputes over Harry's security and housing, there was a risk that the palace could be framed as cold-hearted for denying entry to the king's son and grandchildren. By agreeing to meet under strictly limited terms, Charles demonstrated personal willingness while drawing a firm line regarding official status. Bauer claims King Charles recognized how easily the narrative could be manipulated and acted preemptively to prevent that outcome. By receiving Harry at Highgrove and maintaining private familial contact, the king demonstrated that he was not shutting out his son completely. Instead, Charles conveyed a different point. The hurdle was not a lack of paternal affection, but a fundamental loss of trust caused by years of public attacks, alongside the reality of choices Harry and Meghan had freely made. Bauer sees this as a delicate balance of personal warmth and institutional boundaries, separating private family relations from any hint of returning to official duties.
Their problem is that they've got no future. I mean, as ever, all her products, of course, is a complete disaster. She's got no Netflix series. She hasn't got any project at all. And they are literally wallowing in a maze where to go. And so predictably. And so that is the problem. And for them to come back in the midst of the current royal crisis here.
Bauer highlights another major reason the Highgrove encounter remained so strictly controlled: the presence of Queen Camilla. In his view, her inclusion was entirely deliberate. Having witnessed the events that damaged Harry's relationship with the palace over the years, Camilla understood the necessity of keeping the dialogue unambiguous and recorded. Her presence ensured an additional witness was in the room to confirm what was said, preventing conflicting accounts from emerging later. She functioned as the official observer, signaling that King Charles no longer trusts Harry unconditionally, a move Bauer considers exceptionally wise. When the 47 minutes concluded, Meghan Markle reportedly hoped the meeting would serve as a turning point, but that moment never materialized.
Of course, they went on this trip to the UK. There was a bit of will they, won't they? Harry goes by himself, and then suddenly Meghan Markle with the kids in they trot as well. But there have been some reports that the family reunion that they had with the King and the Queen may have not gone as planned for Meghan. There are some suggestions that it probably wasn't warm and fuzzy. I can't imagine why.
You say she'd have been chuffed to bits. Do you think it'd have been awkward for her with Charles and Camilla?
I think the whole thing might have been a bit awkward.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure they would have briefed them and said, right, no pictures, no reporting to the press. There would have been definite confirmation of ground rules. Because what we don't want, the royal family don't want, is that a couple of weeks down the line we have a bare-all interview from Harry saying, what went on at the meeting, whether it was good, bad or indifferent. So that, I think, has to be the most important outcome of this. No leaking, no telling of what went on at the meeting. If it does, then that will further erode trust between other members of the royal family.
There was no official portrait released, no public display of unity, and no indication that the breach had been healed. Bauer asserts this absence was deliberate. The palace carefully avoided providing any photo opportunity that could be used as evidence that the Sussexes had regained their former royal standing. The total silence following the meeting spoke louder than any official statement. Bauer contends the gathering yielded none of the concessions Harry and Meghan sought. There was no formal apology offered, no reinstatement of their roles, and no prospect of their privileges being restored.
That Harry would be able to say, my dad's left me out in the cold. Here's my dad not protecting me with security again. I guess my dad doesn't want to see his grandchildren. Because that is what I was concerned about. And I think I even said to you, could this all be a scheme, a setup to blackmail the king into showing up at Birmingham next year, which you've said yourself was the ultimate goal for Prince Harry, to have that royal presence.
Camilla didn't like it and Harry didn't like it. So that's much more important than the king liking his wife. But anyway, she was there, and she was there just to make sure everything was calm.
Yes.
Because Harry could have gone shouting, and Camilla wouldn't be able to say what she would want to say. She probably didn't give them a jam or honey, as a present and to help her thing going, because there were no pictures. So really, I was quite shocked the king saw them, because I felt he can't actually be so close. But actually thinking about it and looking things up, it was quite clever.
King Charles was unwilling to disregard years of public hostility in exchange for an easy fix. Instead, the brief meeting reaffirmed that maintaining a private family link is completely separate from holding an official role within the monarchy. After the Highgrove meeting failed to deliver the desired results, attention quickly pivoted elsewhere. Critics argue the strategy shifted toward emphasizing the couple's children to build an emotional connection with King Charles, hoping to elicit a more favorable response. Bauer views this pivot as further proof that their approach changed. Having realized official reinstatement was off the table, the focus turned toward leveraging personal family ties. Whether this new tactic yields results remains to be seen, but the Highgrove meeting proved that the palace will strictly separate private family matters from any official return to royal life.
But of course, they're not apologising. They have no contrition for the terrible things they've done over the last 5 years. So I never understood exactly how they thought it would play out, except that Harry was blackmailing his father.
Yes.
Do you want to see your grandchildren or not?
Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet. I'm really surprised that those two want the kids to have titles bestowed upon them by a racist organisation that they loathe. I didn't really understand that.
Yes, she wants to have that because this is what she's created from her body or from her life. She's got 2 children who are royals. She doesn't like it, but she likes it for the kids. And I think it's awful for them because I think children would be attacked and bullied and they've got a very long thing like what they've got, you know. And I think that she just thinks that she's achieved something marvellous. But she doesn't actually think that things are very clever.
Bauer maintains that King Charles sought a precise compromise. While remaining open to a personal relationship with his grandchildren, he was resolute that family ties would not become a backdoor for Harry and Meghan to resume working royal roles. The king's ultimate priority remains protecting the stability of the institution. That meant offering private kindness, while firmly avoiding any public gesture that could be spun as a return to official duties or a PR victory for the Sussexes. Furthermore, King Charles understood the wider consequences of a public reconciliation. A warm, highly publicized reunion could create confusion regarding Harry and Meghan's official standing and potentially complicate the clear line of succession represented by Prince William. Consequently, the Highgrove visit was kept strictly private and brief.
And the king, not being in his best of health and all the rest of that, and being a man who on the whole probably wants to see his grandchildren, wavered. I think that ship has passed. I think that the Sussexes' dream of somehow finding a role here, half in, half out, I think that is now passed.
The one thing that makes her interesting is that she married a royal. So trying to run away from that is just a terrible brand strategy. It's an awful thing too on a human level, on a family level, but I don't think for 1 minute she wanted to meet the king so that she could fix this family. I think it was a business decision, a business idea, and so she desperately wanted a photograph. We know the world we live in. We know the world of social media. We want to see a picture of the king, of Meghan, of the children, of Harry, of everybody smiling. The palace said absolutely not. This is not a state visit. This is not even an official visit. This is a family visit. And so there's no photographs. And so because of that, I think that's the clearest example I have of why this didn't exactly work out the way she wanted it to. She wanted the king's embrace.
The message was unmistakable. Personal family contact is acceptable, but generating the impression of a return to working royal status will not be permitted under any circumstances. In the final analysis, Bauer argues that Harry and Meghan departed with far less than they anticipated. The outcome was strictly limited to a brief private conversation. There were no new security provisions granted, no housing at Buckingham Palace offered, no joint public appearances, and no hint of restored royal duties. Bauer emphasizes this was entirely intentional. The palace deliberately erected a barrier between private family contact and official royal operations. If his analysis holds true, Highgrove did not signal a royal comeback. It confirmed that the door remains firmly shut.
Well, no, I know where you're coming from, because obviously, as I say, it re-establishes their royal credentials, albeit they are no longer working royals. The fact is, they can pop in and have tea. I hope they had Highgrove jam, which is far better than the Meghan slop that she calls spread. I got to taste what real produce tastes like from the Highgrove shop. But the point is, I think it is not quite the PR success that they wanted, because they've been told it's private, and private it shall remain.
But the truth of the matter is, it was probably an hour. If they leak anything at all, right, that's it forever, and they know that. If it is just what it is, how much does that benefit the Sussex brand? Not much. I asked you why she was furious, because I think she'll be furious about that. I think she'll be furious about the 20 million. I think she might well be furious because she sussed out that none of us want her in our bloody country.
When the encounter concluded after exactly 47 minutes, no breakthroughs had been achieved. Key issues regarding Harry's future presence in the UK and his ongoing security disputes remained entirely unresolved. Following the departure, Meghan reportedly returned to Montecito with the children, while Harry remained in the UK to complete his Invictus Games obligations. For Bauer, the result speaks for itself. Despite the immense buildup, the core conflicts remain untouched, and the palace's firm boundary stands completely unchanged. This is how Tom Bauer outlines the events of that 47-minute Highgrove meeting. In his assessment, an event expected to mend broken bridges ended up demonstrating the unyielding boundaries established by the Crown. Whether you agree with Bauer's narrative or hold a different view, the incident has undoubtedly reignited intense debate regarding the future of Harry, Meghan, and the royal family. What are your thoughts on how the palace handled this? Drop your opinions in the comments below, and if you found this analysis insightful, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for our upcoming updates.